How's it going, guys? I'm going to talk about how this book is designed to brainwash you. And I got to say, having this book around me, it actually kind of terrifies me and brings back bad memories. I've said that before. But I'm going to break down some things in this book. I'm going to break down sayings. I'm just going to read it to you. And in real time, I'm going to give you my thoughts as to how and what this book is designed to do, and how Grant is able to infiltrate your mind and your thought process and influence you to do things that you probably wouldn't have normally done. All right. And so the reason why I have a lot of knowledge on this was because this is my first introduction to Grant Cardone. I didn't know anything about Grant Cardone. My nephew handed me this book, said, "Hey, you should check this guy out." My nephew knew that I was a guy who was pretty ambitious, had an entrepreneurial spirit in me, and was always trying to be better. And so he thought, he didn't mean any harm by it. He was also at that time kind of going through that motivational phase in his life, and he was like, "Hey, check this book out, dude." And so I did. And the reason why, I got to say this too, by the way, a lot of people think that like I'm trying to base my entire channel on Grant Cardone. I wish I didn't have to talk about Grant Cardone. I'm particularly and especially talking about him lately because GrowthCon is right around the corner. All right. And so he's going to be doing his con. And isn't that funny that all these people, they cut the word conference short to con. It's almost like laughing in your face. It's almost like hiding in plain sight. It's pretty ironic that all of them do that. Andy Elliott and David Goggins just formed and joined forces to create the, what's that called? Mindset Con, right? That's a scary term, Mindset Con, right? It's probably exactly going to be that. So anyways, that's the reason why I'm bringing up Grant Cardone quite a bit lately, is because he's doing his big 10X Growth Conference event, which is where he generates most of his money. And he's claiming that it's his last one, when we all know that's not the case. But anyways, back to my topic and what the video is about. This video is talking about how I actually was introduced to Grant Cardone through this book. And I want to go through the motions of how I actually pretty much adopted Grant's mindset and kind of lost myself in that process. I'm going to talk about how he kind of got me to lower my guard and kind of be vulnerable within that organization. And it opened the door for deception and evil to kind of really infiltrate my mindset. And so this is kind of, there's a lot in here. I'm obviously not going to read this entire book. I wouldn't want to anyway. I didn't even know actually, this ain't even mine. My girlfriend found this and we didn't know we still had one in the house. I had like 50 of these things I bought from Grant. And when I left the organization, I threw them all away along with a bunch of other stuff. So I thought I actually got rid of all of it. I'm kind of glad that she didn't, that she did find this and we had this so I can kind of reference it. And so there's always a meaning, right? There's no coincidences. So anyways, there's a couple different spots in this book that I highlighted that I want to break down that really stuck out to me as far as particular things that kind of hooked me and got me to kind of idolize Grant, got me to change my thoughts. And they can be a good message, but I want to explain to you a little bit more of how this good message was actually twisted and used against me and leveraged as used as a leveraging tool to get me to spend a ton of money with him and glorify him and idolize him and promote him and do all kinds of shit like that. So the chapters that I highlighted was there's like at the end here, there's a little space. It's called, oh God, what was it? It's like successful or not, I think. And then it breaks down. Yeah, it says chapter 22, successful or unsuccessful. And then it's got all these different breakdowns of, I don't know, I'll just explain it to you. However, I will say this, the word success is used in this book a lot of times. And I just want to go ahead and start by saying that like success is subjective to the person, it's subjective to each individual, right? This whole illusion that success is this like heaven of some sort where all of us are trying to reach And success is all the things that these guys say they are. These women, there's a bunch of women out there too. And by the way, I'm going to start touching base on some of these manipulative, misguided women who are out here coaching as well, because now I got a long list of them. And I think I brought one of them up the other day, or yesterday actually, talking about Cody Sanchez being one of them. That was pretty crazy. So I'll start talking about them. But success, it seems like that's this magical place. It's like, oh, we all want to be successful, right? What is success? Well, and then they start breaking it down. Success is being financially free. Success is having passive income. Success is being able to buy whatever you want, whenever you want, travel whenever. Say yes. I'm going to read it and give you my thoughts on it, all right? So he says, to really go at it in life and in business, you have to say yes to everything. It's something you'll see successful people do time and again, not because they can, but because they choose to say yes. They eagerly engage in life and realize that the word yes has more life and possibilities in it and is clearly so much more positive than no. When a client says, when a client asks me to do something, I say yes. I would be happy to, would love to, want to make it work for you. I have a saying, I never say no until I have to. It's a great way to tell someone no. That is if you absolutely must. When given an option to do so, when given an option to do or not do something, always say yes. Life is to be lived, something that becomes impossible to do when you're constantly saying no. All right, so before I get too far, first of all, remember how I said that success is like this, it's like this magical place that is being perceived and projected. Right. So now you got this illusion of success that everybody's trying to get to, or he's trying to put this thought in your head that like you should be striving for success, this magical place that I keep talking about. Right. And then he talks about it's something you'll see successful people do time and time again. So we all want to be successful. Right. So maybe we should start saying yes. There's a lot of suggestive terminology in this. And that's just something I caught immediately. It's that talking about, successful people say yes. So in order for you to be successful, you need to start saying yes to everything. All right. Although many suggest that it's critical to know what to say no to, the reality is most people don't venture out and don't experience enough in life. They refuse to take on new things and experiences as often as they should. You know that you have an automatic no in you already ready to go. One that is backed with 100 reasons why you can't, shouldn't, or don't have time to do something. Give this a try. Say yes for now until you become so successful that you are forced to add no to your arsenal and start managing your time and efforts. Until then, make yes part of your successful habits. Say yes to your kids, spouse, clients, boss, and most importantly to yourself. It will propel you to new adventures, new solutions. What is up, guys? I'm not quite sure. Thank you so much for telling me that my audio is clipping. I don't know if that's any better. Uh-oh. Is that any better? Thank you so much for letting me know about that, by the way. That's why I like doing lives, because a lot of you guys can tell me like, hey, something's going on, man. You're clipping, you're lagging. Let me know if that's good, because I can actually see my, what do you call that? The decibel meter. And it doesn't look like anything is off now. What's up, No Game Slammer? If you guys are watching on Instagram, jump over to YouTube on the Today's Misguided Mentors channel, and subscribe so that we can engage on there. All right, I don't know if that's any better. Let me know if that's better. There we go. Oh man, technical issues never end, do they? So everything seems to be looking good on my end. I'd be really shocked if it's still, I don't know if it's a connection issue or what's going on, but I should not be cutting in and out. I don't know if it's just if anybody else is listening to me right now other than Kat, let me know if my audio's cutting off. Because right now it looks like, Kat, you're the only one that is saying my audio's cutting in and out. So I want to make sure it's not your connection. Darlene, let me know if everything sounds good on your end so I can proceed. I want to make sure that you guys are hearing everything I'm saying. At least I know when I post a recording, it'll sound good. It should anyway. I think it's more of a streaming issue, if I had to guess. What's up, Shirley Bays? Thank you for that. I think it's because, the reason I'm asking is because I'm actually streaming live on YouTube right now. And so it's, I probably sound decent on Instagram, but not the greatest. It's just picking up through my mic on my phone. But you should, if you have not yet, surely jump over to YouTube and subscribe to Today's Misguided Mentors. And what's up, Wes? How you doing, brother? You as well, man. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I know I subscribed to your channel. I haven't checked out any of your recent content, but if you're still streaming and doing conversations, man, I'd love for you to also subscribe to my channel, Today's Misguided Mentors, and see if we can get more people. Yeah, man, I'm doing good. How you doing? All right, so I'm hoping everything is good. I really don't know, because Kat, you were the only person that was letting me know that my sound was cutting in and out, but everything seems to be fine. So I don't want to hold up the stream any longer. I think it's good, and so let me just jump right back into this. So just to tie up this little chapter of where Grant's talking about always say yes. Let's finish this up here. He said, again, say yes for now until you become so successful that you are forced to add no to your arsenal and start managing your time and efforts. So first of all, you guys have been hearing me actually suggest to people that maybe we should be saying no more often, and that saying no is actually a superpower. Yeah, we shouldn't be. I think saying yes to everything is the worst advice. Think about that. Just logically think about that. Why would anybody encourage you to say yes to everything? Well, maybe because they have an agenda. Thanks for that confirmation, Wes. I appreciate that, brother. But yeah, think about that. Why would someone suggest for you to say yes to everything? Well, again, I think there's an agenda going on there, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about this. But the reason why Grant likes to promote messages like that and say commit first, figure out the rest later, say yes to everything, is because he's selling you something. And not only that, he's going to aggressively pitch you something, and he's going to interrogate you and harass you and shame you and bully you and manipulate and deceive you into making this decision. So being groomed and being brainwashed and being like getting prepared, getting your mentality prepared to be able to say yes to his pitches is the goal here. So I want that to be very clear, because when you think about it, that's idiotic for anybody to say yes to everything. Start saying yes to everything. That is some of the worst advice a person could actually give somebody. Say yes to your kids, spouse, clients, boss, and most importantly to yourself. It will prepare you to the new adventures, new solutions, and new levels of success. All right, again, trying to use your kids, your spouse, your clients, and your dreams as leverage against you, and to kind of back up this whole ideology that he's saying, that saying yes to everything is a good idea. What he didn't say was say yes to me, which is really what he wants, really what he's after. So he's not going to put that in here, obviously, but if you ever get involved, you go to GrowthCon, which I hope you don't. If you're going to Growth Conference and you're going to any of these boot camps and everything else that he puts on, you're going to find out that the intention is actually for you to say yes to him. So that is one way he's able to actually brainwash you. Let's just get right into the next one here with this next thing. The successful fully and all right, this one's called habitually commit. The successful fully and consistently commit to activities, some of which require them to put it all on the line. This goes back to the concept of being all in that I described earlier. It also relates to operating with some level of danger and refusing to play it safe. Unsuccessful people rarely commit to anything entirely. They're always talking about trying, and when they do commit, it's normally in destructive acts and habits. Commitment is actually one of the things of which there's a shortage. Far too many individuals and organizations fail to commit fully to their activities, duties, obligations, and responsibilities to see things all the way through. To acquire success, it's vital that you quit testing the water's temperature and simply jump in. Again, this narrative, this could be a good message in some regards, right? This could be a good message in some aspects, right? But in this particular case, this message is literally only designed to serve Grant Cardone's agenda and having you commit with him, having you say yes to him. What else would he say here? Simply jump in. Stop testing the waters and simply jump in. Commit first, figure out the rest later. This is all a narrative to fit his agenda, all right? What's up, Nick? How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man. Thanks for hopping on there. Oh, okay, that was you on the... I'm guessing that was you on the Instagram, right? All right, so he says, I would prefer a person who is able to fully commit over one who is completely educated any day. Commitment is a sign that someone is pledging him or herself completely to a position, issue, or action. Successful people see past the problems and are able to keep their focus on the promise they've made to themselves or others. They keep their eyes on the outcome or action the entire time. When I commit to ensuring success for myself, my family, a project, or my company, it means that I will do whatever is necessary to make the pledge a reality and fulfill my commitment. Commitments are not something for which you can make excuses, nor are they something you negotiate with or on which you can give up. Commit fully as though you are already successful and demonstrate that commitment to all those with and for whom you work. Again, bringing up the whole, when I commit, I ensure success for myself, my family, my project, my company. The whole narrative with commitment is not intended for him to talk about committing to your family, your success, your dreams, and this and that. It's committing to him. It's committing to that stuff. But then when he says, I have the answers, I have the key and the tool and the template and the blueprint for you to achieve success, you need to commit to me. If you say you commit to yourself, you need to commit to me. That is why that is created. It really is when you think about it. This is freaking crazy, dude. The other thing I will say is, one of the strategies. So the first part of this book, Grant starts telling the story a little bit, talking about his dad died and all that stuff. That actually got me in the feels. That hit me because I grew up without a dad as well, and that is one way that Grant actually, I call that fake vulnerability. So Grant's fake vulnerability was used against me to, in fact, be really vulnerable. And I think that is done quite a bit, and that is a big time cult tactic to get people to lower their guard and put their trust in somebody. It makes it a lot easier for somebody to manipulate you and deceive you when you think that they're being vulnerable, and it's okay for you to be vulnerable. It's really sick, actually. That's a sick psychological tactic that's used against people. And that was actually used against me. And that got me to feel like I was connected with Grant. Growing up without a dad and him saying he lost his dad as well, made me feel like, oh, maybe he understands me. Oh, he's went through something similar as me. And I'm not saying that that's true or not true, but what I'm saying is he used something fake, which in my opinion was the fake vulnerability he expressed to get people like me to be vulnerable and make it a lot easier to get in our head, brainwash us, and make us think that Grant has our best interest. That's not the case. And so I want people to be careful of that. When you're listening to somebody, I'm not saying that all the stories they say are designed to do that. It's just you can put two and two together. So if you hear someone trying to get vulnerable on a public stage, a public speaking stage, or some type of structure where they got this stage where they're doing a webinar or a live, and they're starting to be vulnerable with you, just hold on to that moment. And if you decide to go deeper with that person if the things they do later on don't align with that vulnerability that they expressed at that time, then you know there was an ulterior motive. You know there was a different agenda. You know it was all bullshit and it was fake vulnerability in order for you to drop your guard so they can actually put their hooks in you. All right, and I want people to pay attention to that. This is a very real thing that's actually going on, and that's done by the best of these master manipulators. There's a lot of tactics, and that's one that's used quite frequently. So pay attention to that. All right, so this saying right here, I've talked about this on a lot of my videos. This one got me. Commit first, figure out later. This is one of Grant's favorite sayings, and I took this quite literally. All right, so at first glance, this might appear to be highly undesirable, even perilous. Be a highly undesirable, even perilous trait of a highly successful. All right, listen to this first sentence. He says, at first glance, that's a misspelling in the book. That's funny. At first glance, this might appear to be a highly undesirable, even perilous trait of the highly successful. Why do you think he says that right out the gate? Because it is an undesirable trait. This is some of the worst advice you could ever give somebody. Committing first and figuring out the rest later without discerning, without properly taking time to analyze the situation, figure out if it makes sense, if it's the best thing to do or not. That's just some terrible advice. Just as terrible as the advice he gave earlier in the book saying where he encouraged people to say yes to everything. All right? Just logically speaking, it's some of the worst advice ever. And again, this isn't coming from, if people who are all brainwashed drinking the 10x Kool-Aid right now think that, you're just a guy who, never invested in yourself. Oh, you're a guy who's never committed and done all this. No, I've been on both sides of the fence. Matter of fact, that exact saying got me so brainwashed, and I took it quite literally, that I did commit first and figure out the rest later. I've spent $10,000, $20,000, $40,000, all the way up to $200,000, almost $250,000 with Grant Cardone. So I took that saying, commit first and figure out the rest later, seriously, and I did it. So no one can say that I'm a spectator. No one can say that I don't know what I'm talking about. I went through it, all right? And I can clearly see how sayings like that get into people's thought process and get them. And I can see how these sayings are designed to have people drop their guard and take this information quite literally and do it, all right? But when you think about it and you just stop and think with common sense and logic, commit first, figure out later. That's some stupid advice right there, straight up. In entrepreneurship, in life in general, it's just flat out dumb. And so is the other chapter where he says, say yes to everything. That's dumb. That's dangerous, all right? And it's not good advice, and that's coming from a misguided mentor. You know what I mean? So, God, I didn't even get past the first sentence. But I just wanted to point that out. He comes right out the gate saying, this might seem weird, but it's not. No, it seems weird because it is. If something seems off, more than likely it usually is. However, it's far less dangerous than the alternative frequently practiced by the unsuccessful. Oh no, unsuccessful. You don't want to be that, do you? Are you unsuccessful? Let's hope not. Oh God. Most people assume that they have to figure everything out first and will commit once they do. However, they never seem to get around it. Even when they do figure it out and are ready to commit, they usually find that the opportunity no longer exists or that someone else has claimed the spoils. Again, another agenda saying where urgency is key. If you don't move now, if you don't say yes, if you don't commit right now, you're going to miss the opportunity. You're going to miss out. You're going to be left behind. This is all psychological manipulation tactics, all right? Classic 101 right here. Committing first means getting 100% behind whatever it is you are committing to before you figure out every detail. This is what allows small companies and wild entrepreneurs to outmaneuver other bigger, richer competitors. The great companies of yesterday get so powerful and so enamored of layers of management that their staff spends most of its days in meetings which causes them to become cautious and incapable of pulling triggers the way they did when they were taking risks and growing. Although it can be dicey to commit first and figure the rest out later, it is my belief that creativity and problem solving are stimulated only after a person fully commits. Oh, wow. So you have something to look forward to, guys. If you commit first right now, it's going to spark your creativity. It's going to spark your troubleshooting and all that. Yeah, that's crazy. Although preparation and training are critical, challenges of the marketplace will require you to act before you determine how to make it turn out all right. It's not necessarily the smartest and brightest who win in the game of life, but rather those who can commit the most passionately to their cause. Committing passionately to your cause has nothing to do with committing first, and it has nothing to do with saying yes to everything. Don't even, how brainwashing is that even to put that in the same chapter is what he's trying to promote here. Yeah, exactly, Nick. You're saying that if someone tries to rush you when they're trying to sell you something, they want you thinking too much. Yeah, they want you making decisions quickly. They don't want you to exactly. They don't want you to overthink that. Because if you did, you would actually use logic and you'd be like, you'd realize that it's actually a dumb decision. So 100% right. All right. Is this the last chapter I'm covering? No, there's two more. I'm going to cover two more chapters. And again, I got to emphasize to you guys, the reason I'm covering the 10X rulebook is for a couple of reasons. One, because GrowthCon's right around the corner. Everybody's getting fired up. Everybody's getting geared up to get motivated and go rah, 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 and get into a room where everybody else is glorifying Grant like a god. Everybody's there to form fake relationships and seek business. And I want people to be prepared, especially people who've never actually been to the GrowthCon. And if I had to guess, with Grant putting out fake propaganda about this is his last one, there's probably going to be a lot of new people at that event because that's the whole purpose, right? He's creating urgency, a false sense of urgency. And there's probably going to be a lot of new people there because they don't want to not ever say that they went to a 10X growth conference. And so he's creating the urgency and he's making some of the tickets dirt cheap, which is a whole nother topic we'll get into later. All right. So this next chapter is called, God, do I really want to read all that? I don't know. It's kind of long. We'll see how far I get because I actually hate reading Grant's thoughts. Again, brings up bad memories because if you're just chiming in now or if you're just tapping into this live stream, this is the first book I ever read that got me into Grant Cardone's organization and got me brainwashed by him. And so this is the first time I've actually read this book since either 2019 or 2020. I think it was 2019. So right before the pandemic. Yeah, because I don't even think the pandemic hit then. All right, so this one's called Be Highly Ethical. This is an area of confusion for many people, especially when they see supposedly successful individuals going to jail. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter how much success you amass. Going to jail would be an immediate disqualifier. Even if a criminal does not get caught, he or she is still criminal and therefore incapable of real success. Okay, let me just tap into this, all right? So first of all, if Grant goes to jail, you bet your ass I'm going to be highlighting this paragraph that he just said right there. Because if he's calling going to jail being an immediate disqualifier, he's going to fall into that bracket. And there's a good chance Grant could go to jail. But I want to point this out to people. I don't know if you know this, but I did an entire podcast talking about how Ron Hubbard, the guy who founded Scientology, which Grant Cardone is a part of, he was convicted of fraud. Not alleged, not accused. He was convicted and sentenced to 4 years in jail for being convicted of fraud and claiming that that his services and products would do something for somebody, and it in fact didn't. And they were deceiving. So doesn't that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar to you guys? And so I want people to realize that, like, the people he's talking about in this first paragraph, one of them's his mentor. So he doesn't ever talk about that. He doesn't really like to make those type of connections. And if anybody ever asked him and pointed that out to him, he'd start scratching his neck and he'd start fidgeting with himself and, doing his his pacifying things that he does when he gets really uncomfortable about stuff that he doesn't want to talk about. So it's interesting that he has this perspective about people who go to jail and scammers and deceivers, and him saying that going to jail is an immediate disqualifier. Well, your mentor, Ron Hubbard, was convicted of fraud. And not only did he not serve his sentence, he actually fled and ran from and was on the run, I believe, from doing, as far as I know. Maybe, I don't think he did the sentence. Maybe someone can fact check that on me. Anyways, right on, brother. Yeah, exactly, Eric. Can't trust a Scientologist. 100%. Thanks for the follow, Nick. I appreciate you, brother. All right, so let's finish this. I know people who would never tell a lie or steal a penny who I don't consider ethical because they also don't bother to fulfill their commitments as providers of security and role models to their families and friends. If you don't go to work every day and you do everything within your power to succeed, then you're stealing from your family, your future, and your company for which you work. You've made agreements, either implied or spoken, with your spouse, colleagues, managers, and clients. The more success you create, the better you are able to take care of those agreements. What the hell does the more success you create mean? What a stupid, flashy, a bunch of nonsense in that statement. The more success you create. What in the hell? What does that mean? It means nothing. The more success I create. It sounds like self-help fairy tale land. The more success I... Oh my God. I'm sorry, that's terrible. All right, to me, being ethical doesn't mean playing by society's agreed upon rules. I also believe that being ethical requires people to do what they have told others they would do, and doing so until they get the desired results. Making an effort without a result is not ethical because it's a form of lying to yourself and failing to fulfill your obligations and commitments. That's sneaky right there. All right, so that's all like structuring your thoughts into like shamefulness, right? So if you're not going to fulfill your dreams, you're not going to follow through, you're going to procrastinate, you're going to do this, you're a failure to your family. You're a failure to your goals. You're giving up on yourself. It's all meant to kind of, there's just no leeway in this, the way he's putting this. It's like there's no flexibility. There's no humanistic part where, by the way, is humanistic a word? We'll find out. There's no like real way of verifying. That's not what I want to say. There's no real way of like humanizing somebody, which, by the way, I think that's a word. Humanizing somebody with their faults, with their procrastination. We're human. We make mistakes. Sometimes it's not that we give up on our goals. It's just that sometimes we deviate. Sometimes we get distracted. Sometimes we get demotivated. That's happened with me on my current book I'm writing. Like I've had to restructure my schedule to where I make sure I get my writing in because I kind of got demotivated, which is actually a kind of discouraging because it's going to be the best book I've written so far and the most impactful. And so maybe he's got a point with that. Like I'm me understanding that this is actually going to impact people in a positive way. I kind of owe it to them to make sure I push through. But that's why I created a schedule for it and making sure I power through it. But I'm also human. And I'm not going to beat myself up if I slip, if I fall back, if I'm not as consistent. I just figure it out and pivot. That doesn't mean I'm a failure to my family. I'm a disgrace to, myself, like all that stuff. I'm not. That's just shameful thinking, self-shame. And if someone has self-shame, you better believe that they got self-pride, which is definitely a temptation that will jack you up. If you got self-pride, that's a dangerous path to go down. All right, and a lot of these misguided mentors have a lot of self-pride, a lot of ego. They glorify ego, money, and self-pride, usually the top three things. All right, one of the personal experiences of which I am most proud of is my ability to weather 2 years. And all right, I don't want to hear about your rubbing yourself and stroking your own image. Okay, I consider it unethical not to fully utilize the gifts, talents, and mind with which I have been blessed. Only you can decide what is ethical to you. The best thing he's ever said out of everything I've read. Only you can decide what is ethical to you. My God. I don't think he meant to put that in there, because that doesn't help his agenda. All right. All right. That's it for that one. Let's. Is this the last one? Yeah, this might be the. Well, there's two more. I thought there was one more, but looks like there's two more. But they're very smart, short. All right, this one's called "Be Interested in the Group." Oh God, I already know where he's going with this. All right, again, for all of you guys who are just chiming into this live stream, I'm going over some of the brainwashing that is deliberately put in this book and designed to infiltrate your mind and get you to seek Grant for the answers, the success, to get in proximity with him, and to serve his agenda to pretty much control your mind and get your money and everything else that comes with that. And I talk about how this was the book that I was introduced to Grant with. So it's actually super important for me to elaborate on this, because I can kind of reflect on the things that went through my mind when I actually was reading this book. If you're on Instagram, by the way, guys, jump onto YouTube and subscribe to the channel. It's called Today's Misguided Mentors. I'll be able to actually see your comments and engage with you on there, all right? Appreciate you guys. And how you doing? You were saying it does help his agenda because it represents him as ethical when he's not. Good point. Good point. All right. See what I mean? I just need another set of eyes and ears. No, you're not wrong. So I totally agree with that, because he is setting the tempo and the narrative for him to be viewed as ethical, 100%. All right. Again, this one's called "Be Interested in the Group." You can only do as well as the people around you. Man, already right now with that statement, classic brainwashing tactics to get people to join a group or fit in with a movement and an agenda. You can only do as well as the people around you. I don't believe that. I mean, it can be maybe said a different way. I understand that there are people that can drag you down, that can, put a damper, put a rainy cloud over your head and try to hold you back and all that. I get that. There are those people out there, and there are negative people. But when you start holding on to that narrative, you got to be careful, because then you start viewing everybody as being that. You start viewing everybody is holding you back, and then you start thinking like, God, I gotta get around like people who think like me. Like you start thinking that you're like superior. You think superior. You're elite. You're a lot different than other people. You got to be careful when you're starting to think this way. All right. I'm not saying that you don't have to think that you are different. I'm just saying, don't think that you're better than people. Don't condescend people. Don't think that you're above certain things that could deceive you. All right. So right off the gate, he just sets the pace for getting you to come into his group. You can only do as well as people around you. If everyone around you is sick, underperforming, and struggling, then sooner or later you will become afflicted like everyone else. For example, pensions are strangling city and state governments because handfuls of people were interested in their own situation and didn't consider the impact it would have on the group as a whole. This type of me-first thinking that has no regard for the group ultimately stifles the very group upon which an individual depends for survival. This self-serving approach later makes it almost impossible for the group to survive and puts even that which was promised at peril. It's quite ironic that he used the word self-serving in this chapter, because I call Grant Cardone and a lot of other people self-serving entrepreneurs. It's crazy how he always projects the things that he is, and maybe he wasn't at this time. I think he was, based on the stuff that he's covering in here. I think he was a seasoned manipulator by the time he wrote this book. I think he was well educated on manipulation and deception and how to control someone's mind with NLP and using all these mind control tactics. So I don't think that's the case. I think there's an intention and a training that he took to actually construct a book like this to gear it to pretty much infiltrate someone's thoughts. And so I find it quite ironic, kind of like what you were saying, Anne, when he was talking about ethical. It makes people think that he's trying to put off the image that he's ethical. Same thing here. He's trying to talk about how other people are self-serving, and it kind of is deflecting from him ever being put in that bracket. When we all know, I mean, that's no secret now. There's a lot of people who've had terrible experiences with Grant, and most of those experiences were the result of him and his organization being self-serving. So here he is trying to call people self-serving and put self-serving people in a box when he's in that box himself. The larger population's health and well-being should be of utmost importance to each individual member, which is something that most successful know. You can only be as successful as the individuals with whom you involve and associate yourself with. Here you go again. Proximity is power, right? You're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with. All these stupid regurgitated sayings that everybody says over and over and over. It doesn't matter what position you hold, whether you're leading a group or a part of a group, your success is limited to the ability of those around you. This does not mean that successful people are interested in themselves. It's just that they realize that they have they have to expand energy and express interest in in their associates, because they know that if they are not doing well, even the most well-to-do will be dragged down with them. It is actually self-serving. Here he goes again. It is actually self-serving to some degree to care about what happens to everyone else. What? It is actually self-serving to some degree to care about what happens to everyone else. Not sure what he means by that. And it doesn't make sense. How can it possibly ever be self-serving to think about other people's well-being? I don't know how that even makes sense. That's not even the words, like it, in the English language, in the language that we've all agreed to use, it does not make sense to say it is actually self-serving to some degree to care about what happens to everyone else. You want everyone on your team winning and improving because this is likely to improve your game. For that reason, you always want to do everything you can to bring the rest of the team to higher levels. Care about what happens. Oh, I see what he's saying. Okay. It's all about intention. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if you care about other people and you have no expectations, you're not caring about other people because you want something on the back end, you're hoping for something to come out of it, it's a transactional approach, then that's ethical and the intentions are good and you care about people. Congratulations. What he's talking about is the way he operates. It is self-serving when you're helping other people because it's going to help you in the long run. If that is your intention, if that's what you're chasing and that's your want and your desire, if you are helping people because it's going to help you and that's why you're doing it, that's a self-serving behavior, in my opinion. I always tell people, like, try practicing not having expectations. Practice letting go of wanting things. Practice chasing money and ego, self-pride. Like, let it go. Like, don't carry any of that and just do things for people. And everything you used to want, everything that you were chasing will start gravitating towards you. This is what true law of attraction is, right? In my opinion, I don't know what John Maxwell teaches, if he taps onto this part of law of attraction, but in my opinion, law of attraction only works if you don't want it. It only works if you let go of chasing expectations and outcomes. And I've proven that within myself, actually, and in my own life. All right, that's the end of that chapter. Again, the whole agenda of that chapter was to frame that you need to surround yourself with other people who are like-minded, who are elite like you, who are on a higher frequency like you, and you need to just kind of steer clear of getting around losers and people who are going to pull you down and all that stuff. That's the agenda of that chapter. All right. This is the last chapter. Very short. It's called Be Uncomfortable. Those who succeed were at one point or another in their lives willing to put themselves in situations that were uncomfortable, whereas the unsuccessful seek comfort from all of their decisions. All right, so right off the bat, that first sentence ties into all the stuff we just went over. Being interested in a group, committing first and figuring out later, and saying yes to everything. Now he's bringing it all back to being uncomfortable. All this stuff is the same narrative. It's the same narrative. You're going to be uncomfortable saying yes to everything. You're going to be uncomfortable committing first and figuring out the rest later. But you need to get uncomfortable to grow, right? And again, another example of how a good saying is being used for bad. This is a good saying. Being uncomfortable and putting yourself through some discomfort at times, it can be a good message, but it's all subjective and it's in context and it's all circumstantial based on, it's up to you to discern what that is. You don't need somebody like Grant Cardone to tell you that you need to get uncomfortable. You need to say yes to everything. You need to commit first and figure out the rest later. That's just a narrative to fit his agenda. All right. He wants you to say yes to him. He wants you to commit first and figure out the rest later with him. He wants you to be uncomfortable and get in proximity with him. These are agendas that serve him. These are messages that could be good messages that are used to serve him, which is ironic because he used self-serving quite a bit in the last chapter. All right. The most important things I've done in my life were not the things I was comfortable doing. In fact, many of them made me very uneasy. Whether it was moving to a new city, cold calling a client, meeting new people, doing a new presentation, or venturing into new sectors, most of it was uncomfortable for me until I got used to doing it. It was so tempting to become content with your surroundings, daily rituals, and habits, most of which are probably not furthering your mission. Feels good when things are familiar. However, successful people are willing to put themselves in a new and unfamiliar situation. All right, again, trying to frame it as though in order for you to be successful, you got to be uncomfortable. There's no such thing as a successful person who is comfortable. Like, it's all bullshit, guys. Like, it's just a saying to fit the agenda once again. That doesn't mean they are always changing just for the sake of changing. However, they know that getting too comfortable, too relaxed, and too familiar causes a person to become soft and lose his or her creativity and hunger to stay out front. So be willing to be uncomfortable and do what it takes, or do what makes other people uncomfortable as well. It's a sure sign that you're on your way to success. All right. That's enough cringe for tonight. Anyways, there you have it, guys. I broke down a lot of different aspects of that book and how Grant Cardone has crafted narratives, chapters, and messages in that book to get you to drop your guard, to get you to trust him, to get you to get closer to him, to get you to say yes to him, to get you to commit with him, to get you to be comfortable with him. And to commit, even if it's uncomfortable. Oh my God. Anybody who's very in touch with themselves and grounded can read that book and listen to the things that I just read over and see that is deception. And again, maybe it's just because I have bias and I went through it and I obviously know how his operation is and how the 10X organization actually conducts himself and how Grant conducts himself. I got that bias, but I'm trying to tell people that don't know about that. Again, if you hear this video, you hear me talking about this, and you go to the Growth Con or you go to Grant's, whatever business summit or 10X boot camp, just pay attention and try to remember some of the things I talked about and see if the way you're treated there and the things they say align with the stuff that was said in there. Because if they don't, it's a red flag. And that's what I'm trying to encourage people to pay attention to, is really just discern for themselves and not ignore the red flags that come up for them. Because they come up. I have no doubt that a lot of the red flags I was feeling is the same red flags a lot of other people felt. Matter of fact, I've said this before. When I left Grant Cardone's organization, I probably had about 30 different phone calls with former 10X business coach associates of mine. A lot of them said the same thing to me. Almost every single one of them told me that they had a bad feeling. A red flag came up. They told me, they all had a story too. They all told me, hey, yeah, there was this one time where this happened and that happened, and it was just fucking weird. Or, this happened, I couldn't believe it. Or they told me this and they did that to me. But they never talk about it. The people that told me these stories, they never talked about it. And a lot of them are still in the organization. So a lot of people, that's the whole fitting in part. That's the whole chapter I just went over about find a group. A lot of those people are stuck in that mentality and that narrative that Grant created with them as far as fitting in, getting in proximity. You need to surround yourself with successful people. And they just can't shake it. And they ignored those red flags and they turned their back on themselves and they dropped their intuition, their conscience to do what's right. And they've lost themselves, just like I did. And I can see that in people that are still in that organization. It's really sad to see. Susie, how you doing? You were saying, really curious, did Grant Cardone actually start from zero on that show? You're wondering if you know anything about that. What show are we talking about? Undercover Billionaire, I'm guessing? Probably not. If I had to guess, no. A lot of that show is probably fake, and constructed, or conducted rather, which I guess it's TV. We know it's conducted, but yeah, if that's the show you're referring to, I'm willing to bet no, probably didn't start from scratch. But I don't know for sure. I had already been a business coach with Grant Cardone for some time before that show dropped, and so it was just more of a for me, everybody who's around Grant and associated with Grant and part of that 10X organization, especially if you're a business coach or a 10X business ambassador or this or that, it's like a feather in your cap, and like you're like, oh yeah, I'm a 10X business coach, and like there's a lot of self-pride that comes with that, which is funny because it's all fake. Nobody actually cared that I was a 10X business coach. As a matter of fact, it turned people off. They never told me that, but people were just scared to get on the phone with me because they knew I was gonna sell like Grant Cardone, and they knew I was trained and formed as he taught me. So, but anyways, though, I hope somebody gets value out of this video at some point. I hope that a lot of people, not a lot of people, well, yeah, a lot of people, but I hope somebody, even if it's one person who's going to the Growth Con, which is, I don't know how far away, just weeks away, I imagine. If you're going to 10X Growth Conference, I hope that something I said resonated with you, and I hope that you really discern for yourself. The best piece of advice I can give you is pay real close attention to things that don't feel good and practice saying no. I'm telling you, be very, very comfortable saying no. Be honest with yourself first and ask yourself, can I say no comfortably? Am I confident telling people no? If not, you better start practicing right now. You better take the next few days and the next few weeks telling people in your life no, because there's moments in your life where you're always presented that opportunity to say no, and you're not doing it right now. So if you're a person that can't say no and you struggle with that, you're going to be taken advantage of 100%. And so that's my warning to you. And I'm trying to encourage people to discern for themselves and pay attention and make sure they actually stay grounded in their own intuition to do what's right. So I'm going to jump off here, guys. I hope that was insightful. Hopefully I dropped some nuggets in there for people. I don't know. At some point I'll touch base on that book again. I actually hate reading that. But I know it's important, and I know that it's valuable for me to break that stuff down, especially when I'm trying to peel back the layers on cults and repackage Scientology like this book and Grant Cardone's manipulative brainwashing tactics to deceive people into doing things they don't want to do. So I realize how important that is, and so I'll probably pick that book up again and start diving into it and dissecting it a little bit more for those who are interested. All right. Anyways, that's it for today. You guys enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll touch base with you guys later. All right. Take care.